Hey, what's going on, YouTubers? All right, so this is video number 2 of sending emails with Laravel. And in the previous video, we all set up our functionality to send emails within Laravel itself. So, um, before before we try and test it out, I'm gonna be honest. I tested the email functionality when I was offline, and I encountered two issues. The first one was in the previous video, I made a mistake here with the email route. It's not supposed to be a get request, it's supposed to be a post request. So if you were following along in the previous video, just change that from get to post. Remember, we are sending this from the request details page as a post method. So that's the first one. The second issue I encountered was, as you can see, we are pulling the information here within this mailable class. So remember down here within the build method, we are pulling the client email so that we are able to send, so that it's displayed within the email as the client's email. So now in the previous video, what I did was instead of saying this client email, I set it up as such. So it gave me an error. So just remember to change this from that and say this what do you call it, this client email, and then it's basically pulling that property there. So that's what I wanted to do. So yeah, apologies guys, I made those mistakes within the previous video. So but in any case, like I said, I did test it offline just to see if it works. Apologies, I was being unoriginal there for just a bit there. But in any case, so I've already logged in here. Oh, by the way, to be able to send emails in Laravel, this is what I'm gonna use. I used Mailtrap to test out my emails, and then to set up Mailtrap within Laravel is quite simple. So here within the .env file, which you will find over here, there's properties that you can set up here. As you can see, mail by default, the env file will have these Mailtrap properties already set up. Now, in order to set up email, in order to be able to send emails through Mailtrap, all you have to do is get the username here, and then also get what you call it, the password. And where you're gonna get these is here within the what you call it, the Mailtrap dashboard over here. So if you click there where it says show credentials, um, if you have a Mailtrap account, you will find your username and password over there. So you just have to copy those two properties or these ones over here, practically the same thing, and then you go to Laravel. Here within the Mailtrap properties, you paste your username there and your password there. Obviously yours is going to be different from mine, so don't try and use these because it's not going to work. In any case, yeah, so that's how simple it is to send emails using Mailtrap. You just have to get a Mailtrap account and then copy those credentials there, paste them in your .env file over here, and then you should be able to send email. So if you remember, the functionality we set up was for the request details. So just to recap, the client, if they want to get some update in terms of this particular request that they logged, as you can see there, I was testing earlier on, all they have to do is just copy, type in a message there. So for example, we'll say, let's say good day, please advise if there is any updates regarding this sorry about that, this request, and then that's it. So if we click here, it should send an email to Mailtrap. All right, so as you can see there, it returned. Now if you go to Mailtrap, there should be an email coming in, and there you have it. So as you can see, that's the message we typed out. We were able to retrieve the query, and then it displays who the email was from. So that's how simple it is to set up email within Laravel. And then because the functionality, we are able to retrieve those emails within Mailtrap or mail, everything should be fine. So in regards to the Markdown email, as you can see, it gave us a view that came out of the box with Laravel. So what you call it, that's why we use Markdown emails in order for that. Otherwise, you can style your own email view and then use that. So, but in any case, right off the bat, we were able to send an email using the Markdown email. It gave us a nice view, and so now we are able to send emails. So, like I said, guys, apologies. I just wanted to test it out before recording this video, so that the video doesn't linger on for too long. All right. So now, since we are able to then now send emails, there are two other places where we need to set up our email functionality, which is here within the admin controller, here where we send the client email, I mean the client the notification to log into to what you call it, to verify their account. And then the other place is within the client controller down here where the client is creating the request. As you know, a notification needs to be sent to the admin regarding the request itself. So let me show you first with with the admin controller. So here it's going to be an welcome email. So I'm just going to open up the terminal. So I'm going to basically do the exact same thing we did, but the difference is that the mailable is going to be different. This is going to be welcome. This is basically the email that's going to welcome the client, and then over here the view obviously is going to change from that to welcome as well. I'm going to press enter, and that's going to make or create a mailable for the welcome client. And then the other one is going to be obviously for when the client logs a request. So we're going to call this one new request. You can name it whatever, but let's just keep it simple. And then again, we're going to say new request. Okay, so that's all we need. All right, so then we should have the new request and the welcome email over here. So guys, I'm gonna pause the video. I'm practically gonna do the exact same thing we did when in the previous video in terms of setting up this email functionality. But after I create the functionality for the two mailables that we just created, when I come back, I'll explain everything, and then we will then test out and see if those emails work or not. All right, so just for the time being, I'm gonna pause the video. I'll be back in a sec. All right, guys, I'm back. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you what I've done so far. Okay, so here we are in the client controller, and then this is the method where the client creates a request. So I just created that variable there, and then obviously after inserting the request, we are getting the last inserted ID, the ID of the last inserted record, and then we are passing it through here on the final fill method, and then we are retrieving that information and passing it through here within the new request mailable that we created before I pause the video. And we're practically doing the exact same thing we did within the mail controller, like within the mail controller within the previous video. We're passing through the client details that we are getting there through the authenticated user ID, and then the request details themselves. And then obviously it'll send this information through. um, and then if you check, obviously we are retrieving that information here within the mailable class and passing it through to the view, which is over here. And then again, it's the exact same thing that we did within the previous video. We are retrieving the information. The only difference is that here we are passing in more data or more information within the view itself. Before, it was just the name of the client, the case number, and then the message they sent. This time around, we're just passing through the request details like the subject, the description, the category, etc. And then the other place where we set up the email was the welcome email, which is going to be, um, oh, sorry, which is going to be here within the admin controller. So after we create the client, the details of the client, like did the exact same thing there. We get we set up that variable, and then the last inserted ID, or we get the last inserted records ID and passing it through here to this user object, and then we are accessing it here through that welcome mailable class. And then obviously now this one is a bit different because what we're doing here is we are passing that information, but what we are retrieving within the view is this is just the message, the welcome message that the client will see within the email. But the one thing I wanted to point out here was this particular um, button over here where we are passing the ID and the token. So what's going to happen here is that the user, when the client sees this email, they'll have to click on this button, and then it's going to take them to a route. So within that route over here, it's got the verify account. It's a verify account route. If you remember, within the when we did the login form, we didn't do this section over here. Like I said, we needed to. I did it. I had to put pause on that because the email functionality was vital to that. So what I did was I created a route. It's gonna take in the ID and a token, and then it's gonna be passed in through to the authentication controller to the verify account method. So if we go to the authentication controller over here, down here, right below where we last did the authenticate user method. So I created the method there. As you can see, we're getting the ID and the token, and then the first thing we're doing here is checking if if this ID and token, if there is we're basically checking the token there, but using the ID to retrieve it. And so basically, we're checking if this token is still valid. So what happens is that if you check in the database, remember when we register the user, it's going to set up a token there. And so what we're doing is we're taking that ID and checking if that token still exists. So within the route, there's going to be a token and an ID, and if it matches up, then what it's going to do is it's going to render this view over here. So, but if it doesn't, so let's say the user, or well, actually, let me just explain what happens after this. So after it renders the view, we then get, I created a view over here called verify account. So what you need to note about this particular view is that it's the exact same as the login form. The only difference is that within the verify account, there's two password fields where the user has to then change their password. And so what it's going to do is after the user has inserted the password or changing the password within the authentication controller, um, here within the change password method, it's going to take that ID and token, and then it's going to check it, and then it's going to set a new password for that user and then set the token to now. And then obviously the verified at email is going to just set a timestamp, and then the verified field is going to be set to 1. So remember, the verified field by default is going to be 0. So after we change the password or update the details, it's going to be set to 1, saying that the account is verified, and then also the timestamp. So now the reason for this particular check is that so that if the user has already changed their password, so the token is obviously going to be null. And so if it is, what it's going to do is it's going to check and see if there's any value within those parameters. If not, it's going to redirect them to the error page, and then it's going to display this particular error message over here. And so yeah, that's basically it. So I hope I was able to show you guys all that you needed to see. But like I said, what we did here in terms of the email and all of it, it's exactly as we did within the previous video, along with here within the admin controller. The only difference is that with this one, the user has to then come in and what you call it, change their password and everything. But do not stress about this. I will show you. We're gonna test out everything within the next video. That should be, I think, the second last video to this particular series. But we're gonna test out everything within the next video to see that users are able to well, we're gonna log in as the admin, add a user, and then we'll see if it does render this view and all of that, where the user has to then go and verify their account. The other one would be to check and see if this user is able to, or when the user creates the request, is it going to send all this information and so forth. But as you saw with in the beginning of the video, when we tested out the request update email, everything should work fine. The only thing is to test out the user accounts, the verify account functionality and so forth. All right, guys. So that's it for the video. Like I said, we're gonna test out all this particular functionality within the next video, and I think we're almost done with that. We only have one last video to do after that, and then I think we should be done with this project. But yeah, we're gonna test out everything within the next video. We're gonna test out and see if when we do when we do create a user, does it send an email, and then are they able to then go and proceed and verify the account. We also want to test out the client controller. When they log request, does it send in information, or does it send a notification to the admin and so forth. All right, guys. So like I said, if you like what you've seen so far, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys within the next video. Cheers for now.